Welcome to another episode of Purchase to Profits. I'm Seth Ferguson. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our daily interviews with successful real estate investors. Our guest today started investing in single-family homes in 2014 while working as a bartender. After completing almost 100 successful flips, he created the Flipping on Fire program and now travels the country teaching his system. Ross Alex joins us today. Ross, welcome to Purchase to Profits. It's great to have you on the show.
Hey, Seth, pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. This is the first time I've ever spoken with a guy who was bartending and then started flipping homes.
Hey, man, I'm fired up. And, I'm living testimony that it doesn't matter where you come from, what your background is. All you need is the desire to succeed, and you can make it happen.
Yeah, 100%. So let's kick things off and talk about your real estate goals. Where are you at right now?
Yeah, so my real estate goal set, that's a tough pill to swallow. I think it's about time. It's a good reminder for me now, being that it's February, to take a look at my goals, and just kind of evaluate things. So I've been flipping houses for the past 5 years, really stayed in the same asset class, and it's been doing well. I'm down here in Houston, Texas, right? Big energy city, a lot of, oil refineries here. A lot of stuff happening. People are always buying houses. Yeah. Whoops. Getting some background noise there. So, these properties have been flipping well. I've been doing, the same thing for the past 5 years, averaging about, 20, 25 houses a year. And my goals really are to take things to that next level, right? I really think it's time for me to start swapping up in asset classes and moving on to multifamily, moving on to retail. It's actually what my uncle does here in Houston. He buys shopping centers. So really been, inspired by him and what he's done. So I think that's right now my biggest goal is to just, get out of the single family space, or at least just start doing bigger deals.
Gotcha. And so have you kind of put a dollar value on that? What does that next level look like? I know you said bigger deals, but what does that actually look like?
Yeah. So for me, it definitely looks like going up into the 7-figure world, right? Right. Currently, I'm a bottom market flipper. I'm doing sub 250K here, which is the bottom of the market in Houston. And, I've gotten really comfortable with those deals, right? I can handle, 5, 10 of those properties at a time. But really for me, it's crossing over into that seven figure area, right? Completely different word for me. Few extra zeros. It's intimidating, but I'm ready. I'm excited.
That's right. So what changes do you have to make with your current business to allow you to go from that bottom to that higher level?
So really for me, I think it's just practicing what I preach and getting out of my comfort zone, right? In the single family business, we have our systems in place, right? We have our lead generators. We have our marketing. We know what works. We know how to negotiate with sellers, right? Eyeball to eyeball, belly to belly. And we've been doing it, right? And the process works. But it's just getting out of that comfort zone, right? Reaching out to a commercial broker. Hey, find me a deal, right? This is what I'm looking for. And then going out and doing, putting together a syndication with people to, invest in your deals, and then going over to a bank and saying, hey, I want to do this deal. Let's make it work. So it's just getting out of my comfort zone, to be honest with you, Seth.
For sure. So going inside your head, what made you say, I want to go after the bigger stuff? Because you have a pretty good business where you're at right now. Was there something that happened, or did you speak with somebody that made you think that you have to go bigger?
Yeah. Great question. So I'm constantly inspired by success stories, right? Your Gary Vaynerchuk's, your Grant Cardone's, your Elon Musk, your Jeff Bezos, right? And I'm looking at what those guys are doing, right? The level that they're playing on, the caliber, right? It's so high, like their scale is so massive. And then, not to take away from what I'm doing, because, I'm pretty proud of myself, but there's a big gap there, right? Yeah. So it's just constantly surrounding myself with that inspiration to achieve more, right? To do more. I believe that each and every single one of us, doesn't know our true potential, right? How do you know what you can really achieve? So it's seeing it and surrounding myself with it that makes me say, hey, that person can do that. I can do that.
Yeah. And if we back up even more, so you're bartending, where does like what made you think about real estate?
Oh man, it's a crazy journey. So prior to bartending, I actually worked at McDonald's. So for anybody out there working in fast food, I want you to use me as proof that, again, it doesn't matter where you start. What matters is that you do get started. But just like anybody, Seth, I was going through high school, going through college. I actually dropped out twice. School just wasn't for me. I always knew I was going to be successful. I honestly just didn't know what it was going to be that got me there. So I was just working paycheck to paycheck, had a terrible credit score. I heard that you can get rich, quote, quote, in real estate without cash or credit. And that spoke music to my ears because I didn't have cash and I definitely didn't have credit. I think I was rocking a 450 at the time, Seth. I have an uncle here in Houston, and I'm originally from outside New York. So he says to me one day, he says, Ross, learning about the Mona Lisa is great, but it's never going to make you millions of dollars. You got to make something happen. So I flew out to a conference in Vegas. I borrowed the money. I went to a Marshall Silver conference, Turning Point. The seminar freaking changed my life. And the next week I packed a bag, moved down to Houston, and I told myself I was going to flip 100 houses and make millions of dollars in my first year. And, it was quite opposite of that. But when I got here, I realized it's going to take work. It's going to take hustle. It's going to take dedication. But Seth, to be honest, I just didn't have another way, right? I wanted the results, but bartending wasn't going to get me there. I had to connect the pieces of the puzzle together, right? So I started making it happen, and I'm still here, still rocking out.
Yeah. So as you were starting to build your business in the early stages, did you ever, have an idea or a strategy that you tried that you thought would work, but didn't end up working out too well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did. So when I got here, I started going on Meetup and Facebook and looking at all the different local events, and I found a few RIAs in town. And for the listeners out here that don't know what a RIA is, it's a Real Estate Investment Association, right? Find one in your local area. And I heard about these things, these signs, right, that you can put out on utility poles, and people would just magically call you to sell their house. So I said, you know what, if that's what they say is working, I'm going to do it. So I got all these signs, right? These yellow bandit signs. And I took a buddy of mine out for the day, and we spent, I think, 12 hours putting out these signs. And I was like, well, this is it. I'm going to make a fortune now. My phone's going to blow off the hook. Seth, I got not one call, not one. And I couldn't believe it. I was dumbfounded. Turns out I was putting signs in the wrong areas, right? I was putting signs in very, upper middle class, wealthy areas. I'm brand new to Houston. I didn't know. So I, scrapped that idea and moved on to, some other forms of marketing. But yeah.
Yeah.
That didn't work out.
I think that's a good lesson there that, real estate is very local, and you have to know your local market and your local pockets, right? Especially in Houston, like you have lots of different pockets in that marketplace.
Agreed.
Let me ask you this. How did you then go out and learn more about your market? Because you knew you were in the wrong spot.
Yeah. Great question. So I knew that I needed to have a team, right? There were going to be a few very key players in order for me to make all of this happen. So I met a broker who specifically works with investors. And I pretty much told him, hey, I'm looking to buy a house. This is what I'm looking for. Can you help me out? And he said, yeah, right. Ended up bringing me a deal, and he pretty much is the person that showed me the hot pockets of town that worked in my price range, right? Or what was, feasible for me at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I attribute that to my broker. And then also, of course, just getting out in the car, right? You can't get rich in real estate from behind your computer. Right? To buy houses, you got to get out in the field. You got to spend Saturdays and Sundays and get out early and go drive neighborhoods, right? And just see what's going on.
Yeah. And so for you, as you were developing your skills, like you're bartending, so obviously you had that charisma interaction with people. Did you find that helped you as you started approaching your first few sellers?
It did. The first few times for anybody negotiating with a seller are definitely going to be nerve wracking, right? You don't want
Yeah.
to blow the deal. You want them to say yes. But being in hospitality for 10 years and customer service and um, going to that seminar, right, and learning certain like NLP tactics and sales as a whole. I used to sell handbags at a store, right? So it's like I knew, how to speak to somebody and convince them, or at least persuade them that doing business with me was going to be the best option for them.
Yeah.
But it's interesting though, Seth. I actually didn't get started working directly with sellers until about my fifth or sixth deal. Up until deal number 5, I was getting them from brokers. These were MLS deals. I was buying foreclosures from HUD. Actually, this broker was getting me the deals back in like 2015, right?
Yeah.
We were seeing a lot better numbers back then, but they're still out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how I got started, and then I quickly found out that you can absolutely kill it wholesaling. Some of the wholesalers in town were making more than me rehabbing. So that's when I started saying, okay, we're gonna go out there. We're gonna start really going long on getting in front of the sellers.
Yeah. And you're a busy guy now with the rockin' business. Do you have any routines or rituals that you do, maybe daily, weekly, monthly, that helps keep you focused?
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely meet with my coach at least twice per week. I have 2 coaches. So I meet with one coach on one day. I meet with another coach on another day. That's like an absolute must to keep my mind right and to hold me accountable. I'm really big on accountability because being self-employed, being in your own business, it's tough to adhere to a schedule, right? So
Yeah.
you got to hold yourself accountable. Also, mindset is big. I learned very early on that you got to feed your mind, right? Motivation's like showering. It doesn't last. You got to do it every day. So I always read. I'm always watching YouTube. I'm always, feeding my mind with positivity, right? I'm really big on that. Positivity breeds more positivity. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah.
those are like my weekly must do's. And then
Yeah.
the number 3 is touring property, right? My business is very systemized nowadays where I don't have to be out at property all the time. But for example, as we're doing this interview, I have 5 rehabs right now. I was out there today checking in on them because you got to check in on properties, right? So I like to get out in the field, not only to check in with the updates, but also it just gets me fired up, right? Seeing the transformation. So that's another a must do for the week.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you have 2 coaches and mentors in your life. Do you want to talk about how having those people work with you has really helped you expand your business?
Astronomical results working with a coach that has proven results and, knows who you are, knows the type of person you are, knows what to say, knows when you're hustling and when you're not hustling. One of my coaches is actually my uncle, and he's one of my biggest inspirations. He just keeps my mind right. Some days I'm not feeling it. I'm human, right? We're all human.
Yeah.
Some days you're not going to be feeling it. You're just not. It's just not reality. You're not always going to be happy and excited. Some days are going to be depressing and sad. And having a coach, reminds you of why you started in the first place and keeps you, fired up to keep going forward. And also results. I'm a big believer in, just watching somebody else do something is one of the best ways for you to get on board and do the same thing. Right. So a lot of times, my uncle will say, hey, you want to come out to a couple deals today? And I'll roll with him for the day, tour some shopping centers, and just it gets the light bulb, right, flashing like, holy smokes, I
Yeah.
got to do this. So I think everybody needs a coach. And, Seth, what's interesting is I think a lot of people think that, once you make a certain amount of money, you just don't need a coach anymore. Right. And that's just the furthest thing from the truth, because the most successful people in the world have coaches. Right. I went to a seminar. The guy was worth like $200 million and he had a coach because he was trying to figure out how to get to $1 billion. So, I mean, if that isn't enough proof that you need a coach, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
But yeah, really game changer, big game changer.
Yeah. So out of all the deals you've done so far, is there one that stands out as a keystone deal for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first deal, I didn't make much money on. It was interesting because it was the most money I've ever made in my life at one time, $7,000. But I thought I was balling at the time, but found out that didn't last too long. My third deal came through. I was still bartending at the time here in Houston because I had transferred down here and was pretty much making the real estate stuff happen while I was slinging drinks the night before. Deal came through. I ended up picking it up for $100,000. And I know I'm supposed to be super specific with these numbers. It was 5 years ago almost now. So It might be off by a few $100. But $100,000 purchase price, ARV was about 180.
Okay.
We ended up putting, I want to say about 30K into the deal, right? In repairs, and got this deal sold super, super quick down in Friendswood, which is a suburb of Houston. After it was all said and done, we ended up walking away with, give or take, $35,000 on this deal. So it was a real big game changer for me, Seth, because it was that deal that I did. And I said, hey, I'm just going to quit my job and go all in. Because one of my mentors always says, either you're all in or you're all out. And I knew I had to go all in as fast as possible. So I quit my job on that deal, and I haven't looked back since.
That's great. So how did you find the deal in the first place? It was through a broker, I think you said before?
It was. It was through a broker here. That same broker that I talked about, brought me the deal. And it was a 2-story house, man. I'll never forget this deal. I wish I could throw up a picture. I keep a picture on my computer at all times because I remember just the feelings of looking at this house fully renovated and saying, holy smokes, I can't believe we just did this, right? Yeah. And it was a broker found deal, and it was for me at the time, it was a home run.
Yeah. And when you first got approached with this deal, your broker calls you up. What jumped out off of the page for you with it? Like, what was there something specific about this property?
Yeah, absolutely. So the part of town that it's in is just a really solid neighborhood. Friendswood, Texas has a very, very good reputation, great schools. And then when I drove the property, the whole all the aesthetics of the neighborhood, right, were just great. I always look at people's landscaping, what's going on in the neighborhood, right? Are people taking care of their properties? What's it look like? Are there kids playing in the area? That just, all that stuff checked out. The numbers looked good, right? I only needed to go out there and, raise $130,000 to be able to buy it and fix it. And I can sell it for 180, like I'm in, right? Yeah. So it didn't take me too long to pull the trigger on it.
Yeah. And you just mentioned raising that money. This is your first deal that you've done. How did you go about raising the money that was necessary?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a big advocate of private capital. And as I said earlier, when I talked about needing my team, I knew that there were going to be certain things that I needed to, fill in the gaps for, right? And one of them was a private lender. So I thought to myself, well, how could I make this happen, right? How could I find somebody to lend me money? It kind of just fell in my lap, Seth, because I started filming videos at properties. At the 2 properties prior to this one, I was filming videos, just like taking my phone and, hey, it's Ross Alex here, yada, 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 and photos. really, because I just wanted to share with people. I was so fired up.
Yeah.
People started reaching out to me, and they wanted to get involved as well. And it kind of just, fell into my lap. I made a few connections here and there. I got a joint venture partner on the deal, right? So that person ended up putting up the funds for the rehab. And I did a first position and a second position. And then I was just the person, managing the deal, right? Micromanaging that deal. Sweat equity, if you call it, right? I was putting in the work, showing up to the house at all times. So, and I was able to negotiate a pretty nice rate where, the holding costs didn't eat up all the profits.
Yeah. I'm really glad you shared this story, because it shows what a good start looks like. You had no capital to start with. You went and raised it all on your own. And you went and you said you profited about $7,000 when it was all said and done, right?
On the first deal.
On the first deal.
On the first deal. On the third deal, it was about 30 grand.
30 grand. That's awesome.
Give or take a few K, or a few hundred. I don't remember the numbers, super specific numbers. I had to find the closing disclosure on that one, but it was a life-changing deal for me. Yeah, honestly.
So you went ahead and you quit your job. Besides actually quitting your job, how else has real estate changed your life?
It's just, real estate has just completely changed everything for me, like in all aspects. I mean, I spend so much of my time now, running my own business, finding deals, looking at deals. But also on the other side, it's allowed me to help people start their business as well. In fact, I remember on like year 2 or year 3 when I was making a solid income flipping houses, and, I went from doing that deal we just talked about to doing 3 deals at a time, and then 4 deals, and then 5 deals. I got so inspired to share with people just how simple it is to get into your own real estate business, right? I believe real estate investing is not rocket science. You just need, you have to want to win. You have to want it. So I went back to New York, and I'd see people that I went to high school with working at the mall. And here I am making tens of thousands of dollars. And I'm like, what? This isn't right. So I started thinking to myself, well, I need to put something together to show people what I'm doing. More people need to know about this, because if they knew that you can really do it without cash or credit, whether you're rehabbing or wholesaling, then they would do it too. They wouldn't have to work at the mall. So real estate allows me to share with people, just the power of flipping houses or wholesaling. It could be, life changing.
Yeah. And right now you're looking at getting into the bigger deals. Where do you think you'll be in, let's say, 5 years? Like, what does that future look like?
In 5 years, I hope to be on like Necker Island or something with Sir Richard Branson sipping on a margarita. Really, I hope to be an owner of multiple shopping centers, putting together these syndications, managing these deals, just building bigger businesses. I'm also an owner of a software company, which is really cool. In fact, the software company that I started using like years and years ago. I became an owner in it. So, really just in 5 years, bigger deals, owning shopping centers, possibly some multifamily, and hey, maybe a few other businesses as well, right? Maybe a franchise, who knows? There's just so many ways to make money, right? There's a million ways to make $1 million, right? Why limit yourself to just one area?
Yeah, no, that's so true. So, Ross, if somebody's looking to get some more information about what you're doing or any of your material, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm really big on Facebook, so follow me, Ross Alex. I'd love to chat with you over there. Or you can email me any day of the week, ross@realacquisitions.com.
That's perfect. Well, Ross, just want to say thanks so much for taking the time to share your success with us.
Seth, absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
You're very welcome. And to you, our viewers, I wish you well in your journey from purchase to profits. See you next time.